That's what's so interesting about RFK, which is what I'm saying DeSantis has to do. He has to capture some of the zeitgeist that RFK has. So I had RFK on last week, and he gets into how he was at a party with Hillary Clinton like a month ago where she said to him behind closed doors, why don't you get out of the way? We all want Biden. Like, that's juice. That's something that people want to talk about. That's what Hillary, he said many people say it to me, even Hillary Clinton at a party. I think he said on the Upper East a couple weeks ago. So like those types of things.
Wait, who said this?
RFK.
Hillary said it to RFK.
Yeah.
Kind of like the DNC said it to Bernie in 2016.
Right.
Just get out of the way, Bernie. Yeah. We want Hillary.
And by the way, if you don't get out of the way, they will put you out of the way. So
Hillary's very comfortable and familiar with these types of speeches.
Especially with that last
you wind
name.
up becoming
Also,
suicidal.
Ludacris also has a similar phrase. Move, blank. Get out the way. Get out the way.
The thing is with RFK, I asked him right at the beginning. I told him right up front. I said, I'm not sure how much you know about my politics, but I used to be, a traditional liberal and a Democrat and all that. I cannot associate myself with the Democrat Party. I said, why are you still a Democrat? And he kind of fumbled. I like him a lot. We had a great conversation, but he sort of mumbled and fumbled through the beginning of the answer. He doesn't know, from what I can tell, he does not know why he's a Democrat anymore other than his name is Kennedy.
Do you think he's a Democrat?
Well, he's running as a Democrat.
But do you think he's a
No,
Democrat?
I think what he is in essence is he's somewhere roughly where I am, which is that he's a disaffected liberal who in many ways is a libertarian, and then has some
Classical
use of the
liberal
government.
type.
Yeah, so he's an old school liberal
I know
for
the
the
type.
most part.
I know the type.
Yeah,
The great people.
Which in essence, in my view, that means you really have to vote for Republicans, and you're on what I would say is the more moderate wing of the Republican side, but that's a whole other thing. But I thought it was interesting. He also told me that he has had no contact with the Democrat Party. Now get that. Think about that. When you talk about how they'll move you out of the way, this guy's polling at 20 some odd %. His name is Kennedy. He's getting a lot of juice in our world. And he has had they will not take his call.
How surprising is that, though?
No, it's not surprising at all.
They want to anoint Biden.
He's lucky if they don't
wheel
kill him.
on in.
Dave, I was saying if this was the 70s, he probably would have been killed. They would have killed him already.
You ever seen
Patience.
You ever seen the documentary? You ever seen the documentary of Bush Sr. and how it ends? The end of the Bush. Type in George Bush Sr. Ross Perot. If you type in YouTube, if you type in George Bush Sr. Ross Perot, he's being asked questions about a lot of different people.
Ross Perot ruined his career.
Well, and at the end he says, it's a very nice documentary. Everything's going smooth. It's going to be hard to find it. It's the end of the documentary. I'll find it on Twitter and I'll retweet it. And he says, President Bush, what do you have to say about Ross Perot? Oh, I don't want to talk about that man. I don't want to talk about it. And it's the only time in the document, it's in the last 5 minutes of the documentary where he gets angry talking about Ross Perot.
What literally cost him the election in 92.
And by the way, RFK is literally going to cost Biden and everybody on the left the election. Biden is senior. RFK could be Ross Perot.
If he runs third party, you mean?
He will. He has no choice because here's what's going to happen. Let me kind of go through with you. So here's a guy that's with him last week, RFK. We had a very good conversation together 2 weeks ago, he and I. I called him out of the blue. I said, you crushed it on News Nation. Absolutely. On every issue, you were unbelievable. And he says, thank you for the call. And but if you think about it, Dems are not calling you, okay? Why would they call you? So where are you going to get your support from? You can't, hey, Charlie says, hey, why don't you come and talk to Turning Point USA? You saw his answer. He says, hey, I don't know if you know or not, I'm running as a Democrat, not as a Republican. Okay, so I get it, because if he goes, his concern is everybody in the mainstream media is going to say he's a closet Republican. That's what they would have put him as. He knows what the games are going to be. This is a guy that's a pretty strategic guy.
I kept thinking he's just saying the things that I thought 5 years ago about myself, like, if I talk to those people too much, you
he
get
only
stuck.
has one option. But by the way, he's not a Republican. He's not a Republican.
No, he's not.
He's not a
Abortion, climate change.
He's not a Republican, even affirmative action. He's not a Republican, right? You saw what he said with affirmative action.
We got into it,
What happened the other day with the other stuff, the clip, maybe we'll show it, the thing that's hurt him this week with the cause of COVID and all this stuff. We can get some commentary on that as well. But to me, he is a libertarian, classical liberal, is who he is. And for a guy like him, the moment they oust him, do you think RFK comes across as a guy that just disappears and goes in his own way and on his own and just kind of retires and doesn't do anything and goes to the gym and works out at Gold's Gym? No,
he'll do that, but He'll still
This
stay
is
in
a
the
guy
race.
who went after the number one guy that everybody was afraid of going after, which was Antonio Fauci. And he writes a book about him, okay? And not any book, a book that blows up and gets viral with all research, and nobody went and said, well, this is inaccurate, well, this is inaccurate. It was all research, studies. Nobody could try. Bro, don't talk about that book.
Just don't talk to him.
Don't talk about what this guy did with AIDS and how much money they were going to get. So, okay, now you want to go against him, NIH, CDC, all that stuff. You think this guy's afraid of anybody? This guy's got brass balls is what he's got. He's going to run as an independent, and whoever the Republican candidate is going to be, this guy's going to be their number one ally.
Well, let me ask you this.
Well, let me just
Yeah,
pause
yeah.
on one
My
thing here, because
prediction,
I
I
actually
could be wrong. I'm just telling you this is my prediction.
gut feeling is he's not going to run as an independent, but I will give you the future for him, what I think is an actual positive future, and I think I might have planted a seed with him when we chatted. That the reason I don't think he will is I think he so believes. He's struggling to realize what the Democrat Party is, but that thing, the Kennedy Democrat thing, is so in his blood. I think he would struggle with the idea of sort of being the guy that destroyed the Democrat Party as an independent run. But how about this? How about this one for you? If you want that good out for him, how about, because I asked him at the end of our interview, I said, we know your feelings about Trump. We know your feelings about Biden. What do you think about DeSantis? And he basically, for 3 minutes, right at the end of the interview, gave a beautiful all the reasons why he thinks DeSantis is great with COVID, lockdowns, all of that stuff. Then at the end, I could sense suddenly he was like, oh shit, I just said too many good things about a Republican. I better say something. And then he kind of, in a very flippant way, was like, but he's mean. Like that was the thing.
He throws a baseball like a girl.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he needed to do something, right? He suddenly was like, I got to do something because he's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Now, I don't think he actually really believes it. I think it was just what sort of came out of his mouth at that moment. But here's the out for him, because I don't think it's going to be third party. The out is, now imagine you have DeSantis as president, whoever the VP is. It's not going to be RFK. You have whoever the VP is. How about he brings on RFK to do exactly what RFK has done for the last 40 years, which is attack these agencies and blow apart the agencies.
As a VP?
No, not as VP. So you bring in whoever as VP. I think it could be Kim Reynolds. Is my gut feeling, but it doesn't matter again.
Kim Reynolds for who? DeSantis?
For VP as DeSantis. Yeah.
I
I definitely think that's possible. But putting that aside, if you bring him on as the, let's call it the czar of demolishing the agencies. He's going to be the guy that goes to NIH. He's going to be the guy that goes to CDC. He's going to be the guy that goes to the Department of Education. The guy who has been a lawyer fighting these monsters for so many years, and that's the exact job you give him. And it's also somewhat apolitical, so you don't have to agree with him on abortion. You don't have to agree with him on climate change, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's something he would relish in doing.
In order for that to happen, the greatest governor during COVID has to fully commit to being a better marketer, because there's zero chance that'll happen if he goes the way he's going today. And I'm telling you right now, remember the phrase I said. I didn't say zero chance it's going to happen. I said zero chance it's going to happen if he goes the way he's going today.
Right, so that brings us to the earlier conversation.
So for me, now let's say that doesn't happen. Okay, let's just say Trump is a nominee. Because right now, after Turning Point USA, 85%, some of the polls, let's just say he's got a big lead, whatever, 72%.
But that poll, that's like going to an Elvis fan club and asking how many of you like Elvis more than Frank Sinatra.
By the way, pull up the polls right now anyways. Pull up the polls right now.
Can I make one quick point about RFK? And it kind of goes back to your point that you were making with George W. Bush and Ross Perot in '92, and essentially playing spoiler. And the conversation about running as a third party, we don't think he's going to do it, but he might do it. The third party situation, you get the Libertarians, you get the Green Party, Andrew Yang, the Forward Party, I don't know what's going on with that. How familiar are you guys with what's going on with this no labels party? It's starting to pop up in conversations, and a lot of private equity guys, I guess, have pumped in $100 million, whatever the crazy number is. It's they're going to kind of see how it goes, and they're going to look at who's the nominees, and they're going to sort of pick a Republican and a Democrat, or they're going to do a Democrat and Republican, and sort of torpedo who they don't want to win. How familiar with this situation?
I know a little bit about them. I mean, they've been around for a while. It seems to be getting a little bit of steam right now. But these things happen every couple of years, and nothing really happens with it. It sort of reminds me of like a Yang kind of situation, where it's like Yang all along, all the sort of liberals who weren't complete woke maniacs were all like, I support Andrew Yang, because it was the easiest, simplest thing to do, instead of saying you support Trump or you're just not going to vote Democrat. So these organizations kind of come around every now and again. A few people who don't really want to make a decision about anything because they want to go to nice parties. They support it, and then nothing ever changes.
PBD, you're kind of nodding your head.
No,
in
I'm not. But
disagreement.
listen, okay, guys. Andrew Yang, Vanilla. We had him on the podcast. I'm like, dude, why do you say something? It's boring listening to you right now. So what happened? I said, you sound boring. I don't know if you remember this or no.
Yeah, but he'll give you minimum wage to sit there and listen, so that's good.
Say something.
He heated
What
up at the
happened
end,
to
and
your
we're like,
life,
oh, we got to
right?
wrap up.
Okay, John Kasich, Vanilla.
Yeah.
Andrew Yang, Vanilla. You go to any of these candidates that just want to say the right things, to kind of Mike Pence right now. Is
that is
not
as
only
vanilla white toast
but
as
it's
it gets.
also establishment language is what he's
disgusting.
got. Okay, so if you go to some of these names, the one thing with RFK that's very different, and with Ross Perot that's very different, both of these guys are 100% true believers.
Yes.
They're not acting. There is no acting with RFK. RFK is like, this is who I am. Listen, as an environmental lawyer, this is the guy that if he's gonna sue you, this is RFK if he sues you. You know who he is? You know how sometimes most lawyers, they want to sue you, what do? Lazy lawyers. What do lazy lawyers do? They set up a meeting, hey man, look, my client's got this, you're probably not gonna get this, it's probably gonna be 3 years over this, and they're gonna say, why don't we settle this for 2 years and $500,000 and da-da-da-da. That's what lazy lawyers do. And 90% of lawyers are lazy. They just want to settle behind closed doors. Then you have the 10%, then you have the 1%, then you have the 0.1% of the annoying lawyers. RFK is that annoying lawyer you don't want to go up against. And he found, how many hours do you think he spent writing that book to research everything he possibly can on Fauci? So the reason why I'm saying this, when a person put that much time, business owners, there's gonna come a time when you run a company that you hit a breaking point. And this breaking point is the following. It's like playing poker. Yeah, you're playing poker and you're like, all right, you're slow, play, you're like, yeah, shit, 50%, river, yeah, I'll go again, another one, and then comes the river. And you don't know if the guy hit it, because you missed it, but you got a nice, decent pair, but you don't know if the guy hit the river, he got his flush or the straight or whatever it may be, right? You have to sit there and you got to be like, you either like, yeah, I'm good, I'm out, or you're, okay, I'll call you. RFK is all in. There is no going back with RFK. This is not a guy that's having somebody telling him what to tell the world. RFK doesn't have a marketing guy telling him, say this, say that, say this. He's such a true believer and fearless that he's telling you what he believes in, and he doesn't give a shit if you like it or not. He's exposing these guys. There is something very attractive. By the way, marketing isn't about, yeah, Tony Robbins, and you can do it.
Yeah.
That's not marketing. RFK, with his voice, but because he's going so deep in the way he exposes everybody, that is a form of marketing and storytelling and exposing. I think this guy is going to go. The Democrats are going to trash him. I think the Democrats haven't even started with the whole demonizing of addict, heroin, did you know this, ex-wife. I don't think they've even started yet. Like, they're going to start in about 6 to 12 months. Watch when they start trashing RFK, saying stuff that's so embarrassing, they're just hanging on to that. And they're going to make the call. You know what he's going to say? He's going to say, go right ahead, man. You guys have played this on me for a long time. He's not going to let him do that. And then, when behind closed doors, he's by himself, and he's not on the debate stage with Biden, and he's going to be by himself sitting there saying, these mother, you killed my dad, you killed my uncle. 28 years old, I went through 14 years of dealing with drugs because what you guys, the establishment, did to ruin my family, and look what you've done now. You've divided. My own sister's publicly calling me out. No problem. Watch, I'm doing this now for my dad you guys killed. I get the chills thinking about that fire. You can't fabricate that fire. When I look at RFK, I see that fire. It's very unique. It's not a, can you give me the 17 scripts on what to say to hit this point, hit this point? He's not that guy. This is a true believer. So this is why I believe for him, it would be a shame, and I'll say this, if he's watching this, it would be a shame if the Democrats don't give him the stage and the time to sell his time. He's like, yeah, get out of here. Just why don't you step it out like Hillary Clinton, step out of the way like they did to Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, all those other guys. It would be a shame if he didn't run as a third party. It would be a shame. If I'm a betting man, I would be so disappointed if RFK didn't run as a third party. I would be so. I would be so disappointed and surprised if he didn't eventually run as a third party. You have to. They're not going to give you the stage time, and your message has to be heard by everybody. There's a reason why you're doing so well. There's a reason why when you talk, he goes on a podcast, like I'll go on, the way I gauge it, I'll go on YouTube, right? So I'll say, all right, let me see how that guy did as an interviewee, as a guest, not interviewer, right? How do you do as a guest? Because some people are very good interviewers, but they're not good guests. You can go on a guest. Nobody wants to watch your podcast because once they watch 1 or 2 of your videos, it's the same stories. They kind of know what you are. You can't give opinions on this and this and this and go 7 layers deep on finance and 6 layers deep on politics and family and this and like, we already know what you stand for. It's done, right? And you go on YouTube, I'll go on Fox and I'll say, okay, DeSantis is on. How many views? 160,000 views. Damn. 728,000 views. Man. Vivek was getting 30,000 views, then he was getting 40,000 views, now 280,000 views. Interesting. So RFK, 2.8 million, 2.2 million, 1.6 million. And he talked about this and he talked about this. Guys, it's so difficult to compete with a true believer. And again, if I am a betting man, he's going to run as a third party. All he's thinking about is dad and his uncle and the legacy of the men who came before him that they killed him. The establishment killed his dad and his uncle. 2 of his heroes they killed. That doesn't go away. That doesn't go away. And sometimes in a family, you know, it's like a crisis takes place. You don't know which of the guys, like you almost have to kill everybody in that family because that's gonna stay. And they didn't kill this guy. Sometimes you kill the wrong guy and you're like, yeah, we have to be careful with that guy. Don't worry, that guy just wants the girls.
Yeah.
He just wants to be on cover of magazines. That guy in the back that you didn't kill was the one that loved mom, dad, legacy more than anybody else. You screwed up. And guess what? 30 years later, wake up call. He's been waiting for this moment. That's what I think.
I think the key part of what you're saying is, can he have that come to Jesus moment with the Democrat Party? Can he really fully realize?
Not going to happen.
No, I'm saying, can he have the moment where he realizes how evil it is and then makes the move that you're saying? Because again, having just interviewed him, even when I talked to him about affirmative action, it was very clear to me, you know, because he was against the decision. So meaning he's for affirmative action, which to me is systemic racism. Yep. If you look at a bunch of people by their skin color and decide who can go to what college or get what job, et cetera.
Which I disagree with.
I completely disagree.
Sure.
I made my feelings clear, but it was interesting listening to him rationalize it because he was using a lot of old Democrat logic, meaning, oh, well, I grew up in Jim Crow South and I know what it was like. He says all of that, gives you all of that, and I know that the Democrats were fighting for the black people and all that. And then, but when he gets us now to 2023, he's like, but you know, you don't really solve former discrimination with current discrimination. And I actually get your point, Dave, and I don't feel very strongly about this. Oh, wow. So he's struggling, that's his internal struggle that probably sits right next to everything that you just laid out there. I want to burn these MFers down, but I also still have these weird associations with the party that my father basically built. So that's
he's one of the most
that's a challenge.
He is like when the Democrats go to sleep at night and they fear one person. If I were to put top 3 names on that list, one of them is RFK today. Yeah, they can't stand him. They fear him. They're so annoyed by him. They hate the attention he's getting. They hate the fact that he's loved. The one thing that all these guys can't get, he's getting. Why do they love him so much? I'm more important. Don't they realize I'm a president? He's not even a president. I'm the guy that made it to the top. Why do you guys love him more than I do? I'm Hillary Clinton. Why are you guys giving him so much attention? People are not realizing that. There's a big difference between those who planned on one day becoming a president, like a Hillary Clinton, who in the womb, her first word when she came out, President, Emperor, you know, and then, you know, it's like, okay, and then, no, this guy's like, no, man, I just want to be around my dad. I just want to be around my family.
And don't forget, he is a Kennedy on the list of Democratic names of all time. You know, arguably, you get Biden right down on the bottom, you got Obama, you got Clinton. Upper echelon, top of the list, Kennedy. And the DNC does not want him making waves. Quick question, because you brought up the word voice, and you just interviewed him. Yeah. It's a very simple question.
No, he has a...
What is the situation with his voice?
You can Google it. He has an actual medical condition that's leading to the issue. And believe it or not, I do think, you know, sometimes we talk about these sort of ephemeral issues or the things that you can't quite put your finger on. Whatever the condition that he has, I think we can find it here. I actually do think that affects a certain amount of people's ability to listen to him. It's an unfortunate piece.
Oh, but it does, Dave. People are like asking what's going on with his voice.
Oh, I guess it's a neurological, dysphonia, I think it's called.
Well, PBD, how many times have you interviewed RFK?
Multiple times.
Right, and you speak
Yeah.
to him on the phone. So what's your take on the situation? Medical condition, and that's pretty much it?
Listen, let me explain to you how life works and how weird these things are, okay? I went to an event in November of 2003. I was in Pasadena. Billy Graham is speaking. And this is the phase where I'm kind of struggling with, you know, faith and all this stuff. I'm an atheist, but I'm Christian, and I'm kind of like, you know, I take this girl who's a Persian. She's with UNICEF and UCLA girl, and I'm taking all these guys. We're sitting there. This is how Billy Graham spoke. And today, we are here, 100,000 of us, at the old Pasadena Rose Bowl. And he's talking like this, okay? He says, I only have one message for you. And one person says, in the side, starts screaming, you're the Antichrist, you're this, you're the devil, you're this. And everybody gets upset. He says, let him say everything he wants to say. For 5 minutes, he doesn't say anything. And he lets this person rant, okay? Lets this person rant. And he says, all I have to tell you is God loves you. Do you know when he was speaking like that? Adam, the entire, you know how it was? It was like this. Why are you moving? Oh, stop opening the chips. I can't hear the guy. Stop. Dude, sit down. Can you, shh. We were all like, 100,000 people at Rose Bowl. I went every single day to watch him for 4 days, except for one day because I was doing the training on Saturday morning. And I watched this man. He didn't have energy. He walked up in a walker, and you know, you're just listening to this guy, but what you felt 100% was a man's conviction. Dude, conviction communicates in ways that a great motivational speech written by the greatest motivational speakers, double checked by ChatGPT and everybody else, it'll never resonate with people. What RFK has that very few of these people have is conviction. And that's what you and I feel. When we watch him speak, we feel the conviction. It's very unique. And there's a reason why it's resonating, it's creating momentum. So for me, as a guy that's interviewed him and talked to him multiple times, and people would say this stuff about his voice, sometimes people like that, they're like more like, wow, did he just, oh, wow. Oh, wow. I would have said this 3 years ago, it's an issue. I don't think it's an issue today, this much.
So not on the marketing side of
No,
it.
I don't.
But what do you feel, so for the things that you differ with him, probably abortion, probably affirmative action.
Oh, guys,
definitely some economics.
I don't want to make it seem like he's my candidate.
Right.
You know, I'm not sitting here telling you that. Yeah. No, not at all. I don't agree with him with affirmative action. I don't agree with him with, you know, other areas politically. All I'm saying, what I respect about him, you know, the old Bernie Sanders. I respected about Bernie because Bernie really believed in what he was talking about when he was going against anti-establishment until all of a sudden they scared the crap out of him and he stepped out. I don't think you can do to him what you did to Bernie. I don't think you can do that to him. I just don't. You know, in life, when you go through, when you've lived a hard life, everybody has lived a little bit of a hard life, but some people have really lived a hard life. And there's, you know how they say there's a level to, you know, I made $100,000 last year. Great, bro. I made $1 million last year. Great. You go walk into a room with a bunch of deca millionaires at a country club. I made $10.2 million. Oh my God. That guy walks into a room, made $117 million. Oh my God. $117 million guy goes into billionaire. I'm a billion. Oh shoot. The billionaire goes into the deca. I'm a 12 billion. The 12 billion goes to Elon Musk. And then Elon Musk goes to Putin or a couple of the oil guys. He's like, oh shit, I don't have oil money, right? But the point is, there's also levels to pain. Think about the biggest pains you can experience in life. You know what happens to a man that has experienced that? You have a man like Teddy Roosevelt. You lose a kid, you lose a wife, you lose the people you love, you lose troops, peers, best friends. Bro, you've been broken so many fucking times, like, you just like, throw whatever the hell you want to throw at me. That's where I'm freaking at. I'm not afraid of you. Throw any shit you want to throw at me. You can't break me. I may be wrong, but as a guy that gets paid to read people, this is my job for the last 23 years as a person that's ran a sales organ. I have to read whether you're full of shit, whether you're going to do the work or not. That's what I get paid in the industry I'm a part of. I get a feeling RFK is as real as it gets. And, you know, we have this one misconception about marriage, relationship, friendships, candidates, that we have to agree with 100% of what this person believes in. I think that's a naive way of thinking. I think that's an elitist way of thinking. I think that's an arrogant way of thinking. You and I don't agree on everything in life. But, dude, I love you.
Yeah.
I love spending time with you. I actually truly, when I see you, I sincerely get happy when I see you. I'm like, I like this guy, right? We don't agree on everything, but I like your company. Like, I have a lot of people around me that's like that.
I'm still working on you. You know?
No, you know,
I'll
for
get
me,
you there. Don't worry about that.
Keep going, Dave.
Give us a couple years.
Yeah.
We'll baptize you
I'll
as
let
well.
you talk,
Trust me.
you know.
Just hang around, Dave. We're pretty good at persuading people. But the point I'm making here is I don't need to agree with 100% of what RFK says. I don't need to agree with 100% of what Trump does or DeSantis does or any of these guys. What I am against is manipulation.
Yeah.
I don't feel manipulation with RFK. What I am against is the dark the establishment stuff. I don't feel that with him. So if you're sincerely wanting to go at bat with me and we're competing but you're sincere about it, I actually respect you. But if you have dark vibes, you're not going to have problems. I don't get that feeling from RFK at all.
Well, I completely agree with that, and I definitely feel the same way about you on a personal note. But I can tell you, after doing the hour with him, even though we have those disagreements, I didn't discuss those disagreements with my team at all. It was like those things do not matter. The heart, the spirit of what you're talking about, that's the thing that matters with him. That's the zeitgeist thing that, again, I think we're talking about how DeSantis doesn't have that, at least as of yet. And those things are, you got to figure out how to deal with those two things. And you also have to figure out, again, the two questions that I said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you in terms of who you're going to vote for, do you roughly agree with this guy on the policy stuff? And do you think he can do it? That's separate than what you're talking about on like the purely spiritual mission that he seems to be
RFK.
on.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.